Someone should check the Bible and see if clickbait is a sin. Because if so, this dude is gonna burn.
If we set our minds on things which are not godly, which are worldly, which are sinful, they will have a negative impact on our character. And I think that's a plan of the devil. He wants to bombard us with violence so that we are so desensitized that when people hear the gospel, it has little effect on them.
The devil wants to desensitize us? But what about those games where you actually, fucking kill the devil or some evil forces? I mean, is a game like Doom so bad for having all that satanistic imagery?
Inside of these video games is actually the devil and the demons. Their influence is there, their presence is there, but you can't see it with the natural eye.
Dude, we're fucking killing all of that shit. It's a good thing. If anything, we're preparing to kill demons. When the rapture comes, who's to say Satan isn't going to make a move, eh? The most ironic part of these Christians being against violent video games is they talk about how detrimental that violence is. But at the same time, they wear a necklace of a man nailed to a cross. They preach the Bible, but fail to make the connection that violence can be a source of learning. It's a tool used by storytellers and the very same ones that wrote the Bible. I mean, is the story of David and Goliath detrimental to society because he cut off Goliath's head? Would the crucifixion of Jesus have been a source of powerful imagery if he had just been buried alive? Would we all be wearing necklaces of dirt instead of the cross? My point is, you can't just condemn any violent medium because it contains violence. Especially if you use religious texts as a source and then ignore the violence within your own beliefs, teachings, or religion. Now what these religious folk seem incapable of understanding is the separation of church and separation of fantasy from reality. And to summarize this religious section, I found the perfect comment. I am a Christian, and I play video games like Battlefield and Grand Theft Auto, but I don't let it affect me because it is a video game.
I don't play video games. I don't understand video games.
I've never played a video game. I hate to tell you that.
No, what is it called? Art of War, Man of War? What do the kids play?
I don't know anything about the dopey game. I don't do this kind of stuff.
If there's anything that discredits most of the anti-gamers and their arguments against gaming, it's two things. Their inability to understand the difference between fantasy and reality, and their lack of experience with video games. That makes them look severely out of touch.
These games rewire your brain. We don't even know what they do yet. This is brand new stuff.
Like Bill O'Reilly, who can't even be bothered to memorize a 3-word title that's tossed around in every discussion about violent video games.
Are they going to become violent just by playing Grand Auto Theft? Grand Auto Theft? Grand Auto Theft? Grand Auto Theft?
It's even the name of a crime, dude. Come on. Many of these people try to pass themselves off as experts in the field, but anybody who actually plays video games can see right through their facade, like this guy right here.
So if you're just out hitting mushrooms and going super big and playing Super Mario Brothers,
Who the fuck has ever used that type of terminology when referring to a Mario game? Nobody. Least of all those that have actually played it. A lot of these people sound uneducated. They speak to the ignorant masses who don't play or understand video games, and they form their own circle of ignorance. But gamers will immediately know they are full of shit.
If anybody watching isn't a games folk, and if so, rude, I want to point out the games can do a lot of stuff that isn't murder. There's The Sims. There's Minecraft. That's all I can think of off the top of my head.
Now, is this guy just shitting out a video, or is he really even a gamer? You honestly can't think of any other video games that don't contain murder besides Minecraft and The Sims. What about nearly every sports game ever made? Crash Bandicoot, Custom Robo, Kirby Air Ride, Sonic, Pac-Man. What about puzzle games? Would you count Lego Star Wars as a game that has murder in it? What about Guitar Hero, Rock Band, all those rhythm games? Instantly, this guy has lost all credibility because he looks out of touch. Generally, we all seek advice on things from people who we believe know what the fuck they're talking about. A source needs to be credible for us to even consider believing its validity. But even if someone has the credibility, they can still make shit arguments. It's easy to understand why gamers get so outraged when they see these people acting like they know what they're talking about. Because to them, they're simply trivializing and generalizing gaming culture. A large portion of the anti-gamers are probably people that grew up in the 70s and 80s, and they obviously don't have any personal experience with games or gaming culture, but for some reason they all think they're an authority on the subject and that their thoughts matter. Like this turd nozzle who isn't even sure if video games have a rating system.
And I believe there is warning on a lot of these games. What if they're for adult content only?
Like, dude, have you ever even bothered to look at a cover of a game, or go into a store and talk to the people, or a 30-second Google search before you come on the news and start spouting your ignorance? While on the other side, in some of these videos, the people we see defending video games are in an arcade with their kids, or talk like they actually know what they're talking about.
You know, let's be honest, the 20th century with comic books and movies, and those came in, every time there's a new medium, people who don't have the experience you have of playing them as they grew up, they don't really know what to make of them, so they find them confusing and they find them a bit alienating. When the novel came out, not everybody could read a book, so they weren't literate, so they couldn't understand it fully. In the same way, not everybody can physically use a controller, so they have a literacy problem, so they can't really directly engage with the medium, so they can't really understand it.
I'm not going to claim to be a psychology expert because I'm not. But you get these psychology experts, and I don't believe they've ever played any of these video games, and they're sitting there telling the world what they say video games are going to make people do or not do, and it just seems all backwards.
People fear what they don't understand and hate what they can't conquer. And it is mostly